In this video, I'm starting the first chapter of the Iridology and palm reading series. At the beginning of the Google Doc, I show Agenus's iris before and after he was forced vaccines. And then I give a link to my free guide. Agenus taught that the iris provides a complete readout of a person's entire physical condition. He analyzed, not medically diagnosed, health by examining the irises and palms for signs of toxicity and weaknesses. Reading your own iris can be approached step by step. With good lighting, take a photograph of your eyes looking at your camera in a mirror. And then you enlarge the photo on a computer. And so, experiment using the flash in your phone versus without the flash. But ideally, you're going to use a real camera with a macro lens and then a separate light source off to the side. And if you take pictures with different cameras, you're going to have to correct the lighting because you might take a picture with one phone and then get a camera. 6 months later, you're going to think, oh my God, I made all this progress. But actually, no, just the camera brought out the colors differently. So each part of the iris corresponds to a specific organ, gland, or area of the body. Generally, the right iris reflects the right side of the body and the left is the left side of the body. If you draw a vertical line through the iris, the outer half is the outer half of the body, and the inner half is the opposite, the inner opposite. And some people who are very, very analytically minded, the iris doesn't follow these rules. So, for a normal person, the right iris will show the liver and gallbladder, whereas the left iris will show the heart area, since the heart is on the left. The top of the iris shows the organs in the head and the upper body, and the bottom shows the lower organs like kidneys or the legs. Importantly, the ring around the pupil shows the intestinal tract, and the ring on the very outside shows your skin and lymphatic system. So first, look at the overall iris color and clarity. See if the iris is blue, brown, hazel, gray, or whether it's cloudy or clear. And then look for the lightest, brightest color in your iris. Whatever the lightest color is, that's what the entire eye should look like. Then go around the iris like a clock, looking at all the markings. You could use an iris chart as a general guide, but be careful that these charts can be wrong. Almost everybody has very toxic intestines and a congested skin and lymphatic system, the inner and outer rings, so every iris you see is going to have that. So now pay attention for any discoloration, spots, rings, and unusual patterns. Are there white spots, dark spots, brown spots, whitish rings, fibers that are densely packed, or are they showing gaps or lesions? And write down all your observations. And then you can follow Agenus's insights. For example, we're going to get into it later, but the worry circles, they're the activity rings that determine how much you need to exercise. And then, just write down everything. What brown spots you see, where they are, and where it would say it is based off of the charts you're using. And then write down the date so you can come back to it in the future. And so you're not really going to see changes for 6 months to a year. And the more strict you do in the diet, the faster the progress. And then when you see this, it's gonna be proof that you're making progress. If you're doing things right, you're gonna see changes in the iris. And Agenus will spend over an hour looking at an iris in detail. So you being a beginner, it's gonna be very time consuming and really take the time. So be patient and systematic. And so Agenus would look at people's irises once or twice a year. And like I said, it usually takes over a year to see real progress. And you might see some small changes sooner. And so just compare after a year your new iris photos with your old ones, and just pay attention to the differences. And this is going to be motivation. It's going to make you happy because you're confirming real progress. So even following these simple steps, you can begin to actually analyze your irises. And just like anything, you're going to get better with practice. And so Agenus could detect even early stage issues long before conventional tests would. And so as you check your eyes, you become more in tune with your body's condition, and you can really see how your body's responding to all the changes you're making. And just to say something, there are people out there on the Primal diet, teaching the Primal diet, who are kind of pretending to know iridology. They act like, they'll make bold claims. They'll make assumptions as if they really know what they're talking about, but they're just applying these very basic techniques and making educated guesses. So don't pay anybody for iridology readings. Nobody really knows what they're doing. Maybe one or two people kind of know what they're doing, and I just wouldn't pay anybody for a reading. I recommend that you teach yourself. And it is upsetting. There are people pretending to know iridology just to make themselves look like experts. I've seen on Instagram them pulling up irises, using the charts, and just making random guesses. And people are like, oh my God, you're so good, And then they're going to pay them for coaching. But really, he's kind of just misleading you. There's really only one person who I'd go to for a reading, and that would be David Frazier. I do believe he actually knows what he's doing, but that's because he has knowledge from Ogenus of Underplanets that nobody else has, and he's actually taken the time to practice, and I've seen him produce results, and I'd only go to David, but the thing is he's expensive, so I just recommend teaching yourself. Don't pay anybody for these readings, unless you have a lot of money and you want to give David some money for a reading.